What's up, Metal Summoners? It is so awesome to be seeing all you guys rocking out, kicking off your weekend in the middle of the week on your island of misfit toys with myself and with Angel. And coming live from a hospital bed near you, a Metal Summit first, we've got the incomparable, the indestructible, the apparently incredibly metal J. Paul Bowman joining us. First and foremost, brother, thank you so much for making time for us. Thank you so much for toughing this out when you didn't have to. And brother, welcome to the Metal Summit, man.
I am so happy to be here. I love watching you guys when I can. I always try to. Don't always make it, but I always try to.
No, absolutely, man. No, totally understandable, and we appreciate the support, brother. Absolutely, we'll have to get a Metal Summit T-shirt onto you when you're fit and stuff like that, man.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
Man, first and foremost, again, thank you so much, man. But yeah, dude, let's have a little bit of fun in the time that we got you, man. I mean, how's everything going with Transcendent? How's everything going with Audio Assault?
All right. Well, with Transcendent, things are going pretty well. We're taking things slow at the moment, trying to get a live situation going because my current situation is not helping that any. But I don't think I'm going to get too far into that tonight about why I'm here. It's just I'm getting things fixed, and it was absolutely necessary.
For sure.
But they kept me a lot longer than I planned on being here, so it's like I'm not missing the Metal Summit, so I'm going to be on here. So yeah, live on the cell phone, man. Here we go. So Transcendent, man. We hooked up with David Ash, great multi-instrumentalist, great guitar player, keyboard player, bass player, digital drums. He pretty much wrote the whole album, and he's just dying to find a singer. And I saw his ad a couple times, and I just like, what is this? This is interesting, and I pass it right over. Pop up again. It's like, I'm gonna pass it over. And it hit me again, like almost the next day. It's like, you know what? It's like I'm gravitating towards it. So I decided to email him, talk to him a little bit, and it's like, yeah, absolutely. Let's see what we can do. And I'd always wanted to write something in the Christian metal genre, and so I sent him a couple of demos of a couple of songs that he sent me, and it was an instant connection. Next thing we knew, a couple months later, we had an album ready, mixed, and already had a record label to sign us with Rocks Records.
Nice.
So I want to thank Bill Rocks and Scott Waters for doing that for us. And you're just happy to be out there and getting heard. So right now we're just sitting back trying to get some things going live. We'd really love to get an extra guitar player for live stuff or a keyboard player. So I'm going to throw that out there now. If you know anybody in North Carolina, let me know.
Absolutely, man, 100%. And when it comes to doing something like writing music, performing in like the Christian metal genre and stuff like that, what do you think of like, your peers and predecessors and stuff like that? Bands like Stryper, bands like Skillet.
Stryper is and always will be amazing because they stand alone in their own little niche. There were other bands that tried and came pretty close. You have Bride, you have Holy Soldier, you have Petra, of course, but Petra's more of a rock band. But I love Petra; they have some great songs. You have Sacred Warrior, which to me, as far as musicianship and vocals and everything and writing, side by side, shoulder to shoulder with Stryper. I love all those bands. I like some of the new stuff that's out now. It's just, if you pigeonhole yourself to liking only one thing, you're going to miss out on a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. No, definitely, man, for sure. And when it comes to like putting songs together, when it comes to like how you choose to do your writing with the way that you put together lyrics and like vocal melodies and stuff like that, is there a particular like style or formula that you use for that, or do you take advantage of music that's maybe given to you first? What's a little bit of your process behind that?
Well, that's a great question, but it depends on the song and who I'm writing with. I can give you a couple of examples. Transcendent, of course, he had everything structured out pretty well. We only changed a few things when I came in, these very minor things, because David's just so good. But the first couple of songs were a bit of a challenge because we were just still getting to know each other, even though we liked what we were doing. We had to come together and say, okay, we know we want to do this. We want it to sound like this. We want it to have this vibe. Once we got past that, the rest of the writing became easy. So what I found I really like to do is when you write music, you figure out what you want to be the chorus or the bridge and chorus. Once you figure that out, you write that first. Once you get that in there and you feel like you've got some kind of hook and something to build upon, the rest of the song will write itself most of the time.
Right on, man. That's awesome. For sure, brother. Angel, let's bring you in, my good man. Let's kick it over to you for a bit.
Just want to say, man, you are a true fucking rocker, man. How cool it is to still have you on the show. We can talk about the debut album. It's really fucking killer. Because I got the chance to listen to the album, and the one thing that strikes me is that you did not go with an EP. You kind of went with a record where you listen to it and there's no fillers, which is really cool. Damn, the fucking drums were just fucking awesome. It kind of reminded me.
It's crazy, isn't it? And we actually found a drummer that can play it now for live stuff. So that's the crazy part.
Was the drummer playing double bass?
Yes. So what we have now, we have Mark Brewer on drums, and we have Travis Pate on bass. And believe it or not, Mark's a beast. He can play it. It's pretty wild. I can't wait for people to see it.
Man, kudos to him, because I mean, I love drums. So when I was hearing him play, I'm like, man, this guy's a fucking beast on the drums. I'm like, he's got to be playing double bass. But some drummers, they can play like that and just play like a single bass.
Yeah.
So
he's very talented. Yeah.
Yeah. So
let me tell you a funny story about that with the record, if I can, real quick. Just the double bass part. So we had it mixed by Humble Heart Studios, Garrett Thomas doing that. There was a problem with the double bass. And I know you've heard bands when they record an album and all their double bass sounds like two pencils hitting a table. Like that's what it was sounding like. And we were like, why does it sound that way? We had him go back and check it and fix it. And honestly, the fix was so simple. It was funny after we got it all straightened out. But we were starting to sweat that for a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I love drums, so it kind of reminded me a bit of like Dream Theater. And then I go back and I read that was one of your influences. I was like, oh wow, I definitely hear that in the music. Well, I had threw my phone away, but I want to talk about the first song.
All right. And I appreciate the review, by the way. That was very nice. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you, sending it, because it's always cool to expand your ears and just check out new music.
Yeah.
And I love the album cover too. Like,
that concept was David's, and then Scott Waters took that and ran with it and made it happen. There was a lot of choices on that. That's what we settled with, and we feel like we had a winner with that one.
Or the song "Beyond the Veil." If you could talk about that song, that was the song in particular that I was talking about. That just had like that whole killer groove, which was just ass kicking.
Oh yeah, that song has everything. If you want to compare us to Dream Theater, that one would be the closest one for that. Yeah, a lot of changes. Of course, I can't sing as good as Scott can there, but
no, but I mean
James. Sorry, James. I'm sorry.
Which James? I'm just playing. I was thinking about
Huh?
the other James. Oh, no, I was asking which James. I was thinking about the other James from
Oh yeah,
Metallica.
yeah. James Labrie, I think is his name, the singer for Dream Theater. Is that correct?
Yep.
Or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
If I'm wrong, remember I'm in a hospital.
You're right, brother. Yeah,
All
James.
right. I want to go back and answer the second part to Jay's question he asked me earlier about Audio Assault. So Audio Assault has been starting to pick up a lot of steam lately. Band's been doing great, getting a lot of new gigs. We just headlined a gig at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina this past weekend at Captain Archie's for Bike Week. So that was a new thing for us, and that's opening up a lot more doors. So that's fun. Also, a fun thing, something we did over 2 years ago. We were asked to be in a movie that was filming in Thomasville, North Carolina, and they approached us because they saw us online playing in that area, and said, we're doing this movie, and it's about a convict that has a really crazy night and ends up in jail, and his life changes and all this other stuff, and come to find out that the convict is just real life story. He actually wrote the script and put it all together and got these two filmmakers, one from North Carolina and one from California, to put it together. So they were looking for somebody with an original song, and Audio Assault, we have an EP, and we had one song that fit it perfectly. So anyway, they got everything done. They're showing it in next week, I believe, at the New Orleans Film Festival. So we'll see how that goes. And they're looking at some other festivals too. So never know, maybe on cable, may have a small theater release. I don't know, but it's a fun bucket list thing to have done. And that's something to look forward to right now as far as us going forward.
Damn, that's awesome. And for fans, down below is the track listing of the 8 kick-ass tracks. So
Thank you.
just kind of curious to ask, at any point was the band debating, do we make an EP or do we make an album?
That got debated early on after we got 4 songs completed, and we talked about it. And that was when we were approached by Rox Records. And we made a decision then to say, no, we've got other songs in the works. We're going to go ahead and make a full album. There was one song that didn't make it on the album. It was going to be a 9-song album. We're going to take that one and we're going to revamp it and put it on the next one. And there's already some ideas floating around for other stuff for the next album. So I mean, looking forward to a big year in 2025. But like I said, we'll see what happens, man. But that's original music nowadays. You take your chances. You just do it for the fun of it and the love of it, and if it goes somewhere great, and if it doesn't, you accomplish something and put something new out in the world.
Yeah, and for the fans, I mean, that's like a cool album cover.
Yeah, I like it. Very, very, very strong looking.
It looks like a really cool tattoo as well. Just saying.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the idea to name the album Awaken? We can talk about the story.
Because we had a song that we'd written called Awaken, and I think that was more of a David thing. David really had decided he wanted that to be the name of the album, and he was happy with how the song turned out. He's like, "That's got to be the title track. Let's just name it that." And I was like, "I'm with me, man. I'm good with that."
So let me kick it. I forgot. Well, next year,
and I apologize for the beeping in the background. I can't do anything about it.
Trust me, we all know.
Yeah.
That's just to let people know that you're still alive and rocking. So.
Yeah. I've still got a few breaths left in me.
Hey, you know what? It'd be cool to kind of record that in case you want it as an intro to an album on the next record.
Didn't Queensryche already do that though?
Did they?
That was already on Operation Mindcrime. I think that was already there.
Oh,
But was it a machine actually hooked up to a band member?
that is true.
Well,
Keith's
yeah,
got
that's
a
true.
point.
That's true. You're right. You're right. That was their can tracks. I could do it live. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Somebody give me some recording gear quickly. Stat.
I mean, not sure what kind of phone you have, but you could do it like on the phone.
I could do that too. Yeah.
See, look at this. You're working on the next record already.
Yeah, we have bits and pieces started. Yeah, that's all I could. That's about it. Just bits and pieces. But we have one pretty much completed song and then a couple of bits and pieces. Yeah.
So when it comes to touring, so I'm guessing that'll happen like in 2025.
Yes.
Any markets you guys plan to hit, or like East Coast or West?
We are interested in anything that will take us to. Honestly, I'm more interested in playing with like-minded bands, reaching certain audiences. I have no problem playing anywhere. If they'll, it'd be nice to be paid halfway decent. For a cover band was like what Audio Assault primarily is, other than we do have some original stuff. It's good to get paid. You don't want to do 3 sets a night for free, or play to the door. But for original music, you do it because you love it. You do it because you enjoy it. And with this stuff, it's message driven. So that's important too. So yeah, anywhere we can go that will have us on a good bill would be fine with me. Yeah.
Oh,
I'd love to play with Striper. I'd love to play with Skillet or any of those guys. Yeah.
so working with Garrett Thomas as a producer, how did you guys decide? How did the band end up working with him to produce the record?
So David had already made a connection with the singer for Bride, Dale Thompson. And Dale Thompson was already doing work with Garrett, and that's how David and Garrett got together. And Garrett's a super great guy. He was easy to work with. He gave us a lot of changes for a decent price and putting stuff together. He even played a couple of small instrumental parts on there. I think that's noted in the liner notes as well. But yeah, he was just the right guy in the right place, and it when it works, and you go with it.
When it comes to, again, because they always say that your voice is your instrument. So when it comes to doing shows, how do you take care of your voice on the days of the show? Do you do any talking? Do you decide not to talk, or how do you prepare for?
I'm going to refer
a
back
show?
to a guest you had. I'm going to refer back to a guest you had a while back, Todd Latore, when you had him on there, and he said it perfectly. And I was like, somebody actually gets it and said it, because I've been doing this, for lots and lots of years, just not at the same level as everybody else. But when you do a cover band, it's usually always 3 sets. And that's a lot of singing. It's a lot of exertion. You're also expected to talk to people the entire time in between sets, and it gets very tiring. So you try to minimize that. You socialize what little you can, but you try to minimize it. You don't talk a lot before you get to the gig. If I'm having any throat issues at all, a couple of things I will do is either hot chocolate, or I have a Nasonex nasal spray. If it's really bad, that always opens you up good and coats your throat. And believe it or not, good old spearmint chewing gum, not double mint, but spearmint, will keep everything moist and going for quite a little bit.
Oh. That's a new one. I've heard honey. I've heard rest, water, sleep. Hmm.
So the water
That's a
thing
new
most people don't realize either is if you're drinking water or any beverage whatsoever during a show, unless you're already very accustomed to alcohol or whatever cold drink you like, always drink room temperature water or whatever drink it is. It has to be room temperature. Anything cold is going to tighten everything up and make it harder.
Damn. If you don't mind me asking, how did you learn that? Was it like trial and error or just something that you heard?
Lots of
Or
trial and error. I listened to so many different people's advice as well, and you mentioned the honey and tea and things like that, and that never worked for me. Everybody's not exactly the same. Everybody's voice is a little different.
Okay.
Yeah, it just you have to find what works for you.
Awesome. I'll kick it right back up to you, Jay.
Yeah, no, totally. You were talking, Paul, earlier about like originals and the difficulties that comes with originals and original bands and stuff like that. And we love the fact that you were eyeballing an EP, but then getting signed to Rock's Records, you were like, nah, man, we've got more songs. Let's do a full length record.
Yeah.
And how do you look at things like singles? Because the one thing about music is it's incredibly cruel, and it doesn't take a lot for another band to take a band's spot. So how do you guys look at like singles releases and stuff like that, like to stay relevant? Because you don't necessarily want to give the record away, and even though people might be buying each individual song off of like iTunes, I mean, you don't want to, if you're putting out if you're putting out an 8-song album, you don't necessarily want to put out 5 singles of it and stuff like that. But how do you look at the release of music leading up to a record to drum up the excitement, but also not give it away?
Right. So this was a battle we actually had with Rock's Records. I personally had the battle with Scott. So I went ahead and did the due diligence of putting together a lyric video for the first single, and I only did a minute and a half of the song. I didn't want to give the whole song away, and that was a battle we had to have a long discussion about, and I lost. And they say, we love what you're doing, but where's the rest of it? I'm like, what do you mean, where's the rest of it? And they said, no, so you want to give away the whole song? First, right out of the gate, he's like, yeah. It's like, okay. And so, I finished the video and got it out there, and they were happy with it. And then they just released the second song on their own. Didn't even tell us they were going to do that. That's the downside of having a record label. You don't always get to discuss everything you want to do, and how you're thinking it through. I mean, again, I love them to death. I appreciate them, but you can't always have everything you want with a record label. As far as what we want to do in the future, we've already got that game plan ready. We will possibly be releasing song by song tracks instead of an album. That's on the table. It's not finalized yet, but that's an idea because we see a lot of other bands doing that, and they're having moderate success with it. It's worth a shot, but we're going to talk that one over some more too.
Nice. That's cool, man, for sure. And this question, I have to ask more on like a curiosity level, not to keep like Striper excessively in the forefront, but I just kind of got to thinking, and I kind of couldn't help myself. With you guys being, signed to Rock's Records, is there any tie-in, whether it be familiarity with the band or religious implications that maybe people aren't aware of, as to why they're called Rock's Records, considering that Striper was originally called Rock's Regime?
I don't think a lot of people pick up on that. No.
That's cool, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
That I knew that there might not necessarily be an answer to this question, but I couldn't help but just find it kind of curious because it's spelled the same way as well, and I'm just kind of like, I wonder if the start of this record label based, with a Christian flair, if they took their name similar to Striper before they were Striper, considering that Striper has always waved that flag and never been shy about their release.
Right.
I couldn't help but ask, just in case.
Yeah, I'm under the assumption that Bill's last name is actually Rox, Roxx.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know exactly where you were going with that, but after you spelled it out, I get it. But it's also affiliated.
Yeah. Paul, looks like you froze up on us, brother. Can you still hear us? Hang tight for just one. Oh, we moved.
What happened there?
I don't know. You froze up on us for a second.
Yeah, I was like everything went black and started wheels turning.
The little hourglass started going. We're still operating on 6.0.
That happens sometimes.
but no, for sure. But no, that's super duper cool, man. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that like I noticed, and I was like, you know what? I kind of wonder. I find that.
Yeah, and you're right for wondering. It now that you bring it up, it kind of makes sense. Yeah.
No, that's super duper awesome, man. But assuming that the rest of 2024 goes the way that you want, both musically as well as health wise and everything, how are you currently looking at the build up for 2025? You've got bits and pieces of new music, but of course you definitely want to push Awaken, because that's the current, that's what's fresh, and that's what you want to get into everybody's ears.
Yeah.
Are you looking to do dominant road work when it comes to 2025, or are you also kind of open to dabbling a bit in the studio if the opportunities present themselves for certain songs?
Absolutely both. Yes.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, as far as recording goes, I'm happiest and also the angriest I'm ever going to be when I'm writing music, because I'm my own worst critic, and I will battle myself more than anybody else. But I love writing music, and I would love to write and create and record with anyone that would have me.
Nice. That's awesome, man. That's super duper sick for sure, man. I want to take you back a little bit in time too, because I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about Thorns Inside, because you had so much cool music and so much stuff that you released with them. And I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your tenure with the band and the catalog of music that you put out with them.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, just
okay. All right. That was a brainchild between me and Frankie Bogus. Frankie was someone I had played in another band with, another cover band years ago. And we just got to talking one day. We've always stayed friends. And it's like, you know what? I've got all this music. And he's like, I've got all this music. And, I really want to get this out there and record it. And he's like, well, yeah, I've got the same thing, man. So let's just start collaborating. So we went at it, and the first album was a lot of hodgepodge between his stuff and my stuff. I still really enjoy that album. I was happy to get some of that stuff really recorded correctly and well. One track in particular, One Lane Highway, I actually wrote that song back in 1987, the original version of it. And I never got it recorded the way I wanted to until then. So that was nice. Then we got some other great songs out of that. Waste Away was a great song. The song called You, which is the last track on the first album, that actually got some decent radio play. Mark Striegel, Striegel, however you pronounce his name, who is now running Ozzy's Boneyard. He was doing another show at the time, and he played it a couple times, and he said, I got people emailing me asking who the crap this is, because they'd never heard that before and they wanted to know more about it. And that was kind of cool for a minute. It didn't really go anywhere, but it was nice to have have that feedback. Excuse me a second.
No, of course.
Yeah. Dry mouth. But yeah, that huh?
I said we got to get
I
you
need
some
spearmint gum.
spearmint
You're right.
gum.
Somebody go give me some spearmint gum. Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't have that here in the vending machine. But yeah, that album was again a labor of love of pastime songs, bringing them new life, mine and his. And then we got a friend of his on bass, Steven, and to help complete that, and a friend of mine, Scotty, on drums. And Scotty, if people don't know who Scotty Irvin III is, you need to look him up, or Joseph Scott Irving III, however you want to say his name. He does a thing called Clang Quartet. It's noise genre music, and it is Christian based, which is kind of wild, but it's the noise genre stuff. If you've ever listened to any of that, you really have to be into that to enjoy it. And I've told him before personally, so I don't mind saying it here. You know, it's not really my thing, but he's incredible at it. I'll put it that way. He's had some decent success in Japan with that stuff. So to have him play on the first album was really important to me. And actually, we went to high school together for like a year or two, so that was where that connection came from. Then the second album, we weren't going to do one, and then we decided, you know, we kind of have to. We had too much material sitting and stewing, and then we kept Steven on bass, and we got Vernon Jordan to play drums. And Vernon was another drummer that I'd played with in the past, and I'm still really good friends with to this day. He was actually at my show this past weekend, hanging out, and I got him up to sing a song. But incredible drummer. We got that finished and really had some big plans, and that's when COVID struck, and COVID kind of hurt everybody with everything. You know, we all know what happened. And then, unfortunately, Frankie's wife got sick with COVID and she passed away. So that kind of put things on a stop. And then a year later, Stephen passed away. So that's why we haven't revisited any of that.
Gotcha. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear about all that, Paul. But it's such great. The one thing about music is it keeps people alive forever, though.
That's true.
Have you ever put any thought into maybe specific songs that maybe hit you a certain way, and maybe fusing them into a translucent set, assuming the guys are all cool with it, if the opportunities present itself, or do you find it maybe better to keep those two projects separate?
Right now we're going to keep those two projects separate. It's funny you bring that up. We did have that discussion, whether we wanted to do that or not. Just because, you know, here we are with Transcendent trying to create something new and get started with something new, but to go out and play, you know, it would still be nice to play all originals. And since I have a bunch of other ones, that was, you know, of course on the table. But since Frankie's off doing other projects, other music projects and stuff, it's not going to coalesce at the moment. I'm not going to rule it out for the future. It would be great if we could do that. It'd be great if I could get to the point where I could afford to pay a bunch of players to play all my stuff and I could just go out on my own. Sure. But haven't got to that point yet, but hopefully one day. We'll see.
Nice, man. Absolutely, for sure. Angel, let's kick it back up to you there, my friend. And the Metal Summoners, we love you guys. Thanks for rocking out with us and showing Paul so much love. Remember, we're very interactive. Throw in comments, throw in questions, anything you want to say. You're always going to be heard. But don't be afraid to throw something in there, guys, while we're rocking out with Paul. Go ahead, Angel.
Which do you like best, touring or playing live?
They're kind of the same thing, but playing the show, I enjoy more. Yeah.
When it comes to getting signed, how did the band get signed to the record label?
We were looking at a couple of different options, and I'm just out of respect, I'm not going to mention the other ones we were looking at because it's kind of mute now. But we sent one song to all these different labels, and we got some conversations with them, and we just liked what Bill and Scott over at Rocks Records had to say. That they had some great ideas and what they wanted to do. Some of them didn't come to fruition, but that doesn't mean they won't here in the near future. So we're looking forward to more things happening. But it was just they sold us the right pitch, and we went with it.
This is a silly question. After the record was done, mixed, and mastered, did you sit down and relax and be like, yes, the record is done? Or did you think about any ways you could have changed something on the record and want to go and do that?
That, my friend, is always going to happen. I don't care who you are as an artist or where you're at, where your level is, something, and you finally put your, I'm done, it's good, let's go with it. You'll listen back to it. It may not be a week from now or a month from now, but at some point and within the next couple of months, you're going to be listening to it and going, I really wanted to change that. If I could have done that differently, that would have sounded better. That would have meshed better here. If that would have been louder, I always do that with just about every song. Yeah. I think most musicians do.
I'm just curious to know why.
Do what?
I'm just curious to know why. Why does that happen?
Okay, so let me give you a scenario to kind of put that perspective. And say you're a singer and you're working on this one line, and you've sang it, and that's okay. And like a lot of stuff I've done on Transcendent and Thorn Decide, I layer the vocals with different octaves and different tones, and you get the sound you're looking for by doing that. But say you sang this one line and that sounds pretty good. Then you go to another track and you want to do it again and again, and just take a bunch of different takes, and then you pick one you like, with everybody's input. You put it in there. You're listening to the track. It seems to fit with everything else, but yet you feel like you could have taken that one note and bent it here, or you could have taken this phrasing and phrased it a little differently, and instead of like, let's just go with "Run to the Hills" from Iron Maiden. I could sing it, "Run to the hills," or I could sing it, "Run to the hills," and put a different inflection to it. Which one is better? Is that you'll kill yourself at staying up at night trying to figure out which you like better.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
So here's my next question. How do you know when the song is done?
That's a good question. That depends on a couple of factors. That depends on where you're at with how exhausted you are on working on it. That depends on where you're at with how many changes you made to it, and if you feel like you've made it better or worse. There's a whole lot of other factors that go into that, but there comes a point where you listen to it in your car, listen to it through headphones, listen to it on a computer, listen to it through your phone. And if it sounds good on everything there and nothing's jumping out at you and screaming, no, you got to fix it, then usually you can come to that point and say, okay, I think it's done.
When it comes to what did the producer bring to the band with working on the songs?
He actually helped us a lot with some of the sonics that we were trying to achieve. As you'll notice in some places where there's a lot of things blending together at a certain point in the song or a certain change, that was done on purpose. And some of those things were his suggestions, and that was helpful. He also was pretty good on choosing vocal effects in certain spots and knowing where not to put them. We didn't have too many problems with that. The keyboard mixing was had a lot to do with Garrett on that. He got that sound kind of in places we wanted it. Yeah, he just had a good ear for it for the most part.
Toughest thing about keeping a band together?
Toughest thing about keeping a band together is the personalities.
Oh.
If you have people that can honestly work together and not just get along for a certain amount of time and then walk away and then hate each other, that's a big deal. That's a hard thing to do nowadays, and that happens, with just about any band. I can tell you with Transcendent, we all get along very well, which I probably haven't spent enough time together yet to start hating each other for stupid things. But with Audio Assault, we've had some ups and downs, and we've overcome them. It's that to me is an extreme win. And they're not big things; they're small things and stuff that we let get out of control, mishandling certain instances. And once you step back from it and look at it, go, okay, that was a little much, and we can fix this. And I've been with that band for 7 years now, and to stay in a band for 7 years is very difficult, especially in this area and in any area where you have a lot of cover bands, even in Nashville. I know several bands in Nashville with Tyson Leslie up there running the show with a lot of stuff, and he's a great guy. But yeah, he'd be one to tell you as well. You got to have people you can work with professionally and also get along with personally if you want it to succeed.
There's been like a lot of bands like Black Crows, Poison, Disturbed. They've all at some point in their early albums added a cover song. Has the band been approached about, hey, why don't you guys add this cover song to this album, or has that happened to the band yet?
We have not been approached about that. There was a discussion or two, but that was just mainly for thinking about what we could do live.
Okay.
But as far as recording one, we haven't been approached. No.
Cool. Now we kick it right back up to Bart Buddy J.
Absolutely, for sure. When it comes to the ideas of like concentrating on like vocals along with like the music, like the way it's written that you're trying to put out things, how do you find that your vocal styling, complements or even at times contrasts the music that the band's putting together?
That is the fun part. Especially with Transcendent, I wanted to experiment a lot with the songs, and David was very happy with that. Cheered me on for that. And I like contrasting, and also at the same time, I like songs that build. I like to have a building song, where it just ramps up and ramps up and ramps up. And that's always fun. But yeah, contrasting stuff, especially with the way David writes music, was a lot of fun, and Beyond the Veil, again, is a very, very good example of that. And then we have also, Here Comes the Reaper. Here Comes the Reaper is pretty much a steady style all the way through, with just one or two changes, small changes. But I feel like the contrast in songs vocally can make it stand out, or maybe even kill it. You got people with all different kinds of tastes. Some people like it, some people don't. the end of the day, you got to do what you like, and if you like what you did, then it's a good, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, man, for sure. Was vocals your first instrument per se, or do you play, or did you play anything else?
Yes, I play a little bit of guitar, a little bit of bass, which is like I said, like One Highway was one of my old songs I wrote, and I wrote like maybe half the music on that album. If I don't think I got you the liner notes for that, but yeah, so you wouldn't know that. Uh, but yeah, I play a little bit, but I'm not anywhere near David's league or anywhere near Henry or Steve's league in audio assault. They're all phenomenal players.
For sure, absolutely. Do you like do you like the do you like the ability being the singer and being the front man of a band that allows like that mobility or that kind of fan interaction, or do you ever kind of get the feeling or the want to be able to kind of do both, like play and
No,
sing?
I would rather be the singer because I found out early on that even though I can play somewhat, playing and singing at the same time is not something I truly enjoy because it's too much for me to concentrate on.
Mhm.
Because I'd already kind of honed myself into, as a singer, paying attention to everything going on with the band.
Sure.
And I don't think that's something a lot of people understand. It's not just you get up there and your band's a karaoke track and you sing, and that's really not how it goes because you're paying attention to all kinds of guitar cues, drum cues, bass cues, things or spots you're supposed to hit in certain places. And if you don't pay attention to all of that at once, you're going to mess things up, which happens from time to time. But that's part of the job. And so if I'm doing that, I really can't concentrate on playing guitar at the same time.
For sure. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Where's the craziest place you ever found yourself being when you got the idea for a song?
Ooh. The craziest place I got an idea for a song was in the middle of an abandoned airfield. And I don't think I've ever told anyone this before. So it was someone I was dating when I was very young. And we would go out there and hang out and whatever and whatnot. And yeah, it just a couple of song lyrics came to my head, and then at that time, and yeah, that was probably the craziest place I got an idea. Yeah.
That's cool, man. What brought you out for the to the abandoned airfield, or was it just kids being kids?
That would have to do with the girl.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, man, for sure. When
Back many lifetimes ago. Many lifetimes ago.
Oh, sure. No,
Yeah.
who were some of your biggest like vocal inspirations? Like who were some of the bands that got you into it and some of the singers that you were like, not only do I want to be in a band, but I want to be that guy.
Yeah. So that was about the time when MTV was hitting hard. In the area I was living in, we didn't have MTV. We had TV 61, which was just playing the MTV videos. But there was that going on, and all the great music came out in 84 and 85, 86, 87, all that stuff. I found myself liking a lot of different things, including stuff I grew up with from my sister and her album collection.
Right, baby.
So early on, I liked Kiss. She had the Kiss Destroyer album, and the only reason she had that was the song Beth, but I liked everything else. Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. But the one thing she had an 8-track, if you remember 8 tracks,
Yep.
of Foreigner Records. Foreigner, to me, is still one of the best bands ever because Lou Graham's voice was amazing. He's just an amazing singer. And I gravitated towards voices after that. So Lou Graham would be a big influence early on. And I'm going to cite even some weird ones here that's going to throw you for a loop. I really enjoyed the Bee Gees and their vocal harmonies. I enjoyed Lionel Richie. I enjoyed Huey Lewis and the News. and just because everything sounded so well polished and so pristine. And then I'm watching these videos, and I'm really like, oh my God, there's Bruce Dickinson and Iron Maiden. What is this? You know. Then you had Sabotage that would play on the Headbangers Ball later on, and I just Overkill. Then I found Queensryche, and there was Jeff Tate, and it was just like, I want to sing like that. And I came close at one point when I was young, but I can't do it now. I can do some of it, but just some of it. So hats off to Todd to continue to do that. He's amazing. But yeah, that and Crimson Glory was an early. I know people again. Todd actually sang for them, so
Yeah.
I guess that's one that popped in my head. I'm trying to think of other big ones. Yeah, those were the big ones, and then Dio. Dio was a big influence, of course, because nobody else could sing like Dio. That he was just so unique. Yeah.
No, absolutely. When it came to like, especially having those big voices, those big personalities kind of shape you as a singer and as like a performer, how would you say some of what you saw with your influences translated to you on stage performance wise?
I used to be able to jump around like Bruce did, and tried to do some of the stage antics that Dio would do. Of course, nobody ever looks cool trying to be Dio. It just doesn't work. You just have to try to be yourself at some point. Um, I think I did try to be a little bit like um, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister as far as stage movement for a while. Um, then I kind of polished into my own routine, but I like, as far as stage performances, to be with the music. So if I'm making a move or whatever I'm doing, it has to be in flow with the music or in timing for a stop or whatever. I'm just not out there jumping around like an idiot.
Nice. Right on, man. No, for
Yeah.
sure. And just kind of like a fun question, consider you are doing your interview with us in October. Are you into horror movies, and what are some of your favorites if you are?
Actually, the favorite horror movie I have is the Amityville Horror, because it just, at that time when it came out, I was there and I watched it and it just freaked me out. There was there was the one. Oh gosh, what was the name of it? Oh, it was one that had to do with nothing but bats, and it was killer bats, and I can't think of the name of it.
I think wasn't it? Well, it might be the song "Bats" or "Fangs."
Things. I don't think that was it. It was a
did it
very
have Lou
early. It
Diamond?
was an early '80s movie.
Lou Diamond
Early
Phillips?
'80s movie. No, I don't think so. Because it primarily had to do with vampire bats attacking people.
Got you.
Groups of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that, but yeah, that old early stuff. And I liked the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. And
Nice.
the doc and stuff was pretty cool with that. But that got kind of campy after the third or fourth one. Yeah.
Right. No, for sure. Yeah, like the original Nightmare is still just the original Nightmare. It's fantastic, but I do love me some Dream Warriors. Like for me personally,
Yeah.
that's probably my favorite of the series. I'm always going to give a lot of love to the original because it set the standard, and we wouldn't have a third one
Right.
like the first one. But just between the Dawkins soundtrack, and I love the idea of everybody like locked up in the mental institution, like living out their fantasies and stuff like that when they actually did go into the dream world. I just thought that was super cool and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
man, definitely love that one for sure. When you're putting together, your lyrics, how do you find your writing process as far as the lyrics you write? Do you find them to be mostly faith driven, real life experience driven? Is there a certain kind of channel or road that consistently seems to be where your lyrics come from? Or do you kind of get them from different opportunities?
Primarily, and like I said before, I've gone a couple different routes with lyric writing, but primarily most of it comes from a personal experience will start a song for me, and yeah, a certain thought or a memory, uh, uh, or maybe a reflection, and then I will, if I can put something else with it and feel like okay, I can make a song out of this, and then you write the rest of it around it. Um, so yeah, a lot of it comes from personal. As far as the faith-driven stuff, it that just I just kind of channel. And I know this sounds cliche, and you can believe it or not, whatever. But I feel like I get a thought given to me, and it's obviously I feel like it's from God, and just I go with it and I open myself up to it, and then before I know it, I've got a whole song written, and that happened with definitely 4 of the songs on that Transcendent album. I don't feel like I had much input in writing it. I feel like it just kind of came through me, but it still has to be a personal connection. I know a lot of people just write songs that just we're gonna do it like this, and this right here is gonna be the thing, and so what if it doesn't make perfect sense and all go together, or you just put stuff together and there it is, and I'm like, no, that's not a song, that's just a hodgepodge that you call a song. Yeah.
For sure, absolutely, definitely, man. Angel, let's kick it back up to you, my friend. But also on that note, Metal Summoners, it is going to be last call for alcohol. Final questions, comments, or just anything you want to say to Paul. Now's the time to do it. He's been incredibly gracious with his time, and we definitely want to honor his time and also give him the opportunity to relax a little bit and enjoy the rest of his evening for sure. We have been having great conversation. Paul, you're always going to be welcome back on this show. But Summoners, we do have Paul for a little while longer. We just want to be respectful of his evening. So, Angel, why don't you take it away as we start our final segments?
Any songs? Well, not each individual song, but overall, how did the songs come together? Was it a riff? Did you come up with a title first? How did that happen with songwriting?
There were a couple of songs that came together with an idea title first, and then found something that we felt like was sonically mixed with that idea. Then there were other things where you had the song kind of written, and then you had to. You see, these are very hard questions to answer because if you only follow one formula, you're going to get the same results. So I don't like following the same formula for every type of songs I write. And so I don't feel like I get the exact same results. And I hate to bring that name back up in a derogatory way. And I certainly don't mean anything derogatory towards Striper, but their process is very much a rudimentary, we do it this way every single time. And you can tell, even if the songs turn out pretty good, you can still tell their process is very, very already constructed. So yeah, you can come at it from different ways, but there for me there is no one exact way. You can do it different ways.
Cool. Man, and again, just want to congratulate the band because hearing the album, I'm like, wow, this really kicks ass. Just really enjoying. I'm a drum person, so of course I'm always going to say that I love the drums on the album. It kind of drumming wise, again, I keep talking about drums, but that's because I used to be a drummer, so of course I'm always gonna bring that up with the drums. But it kind of took me to the Megadeth record, Euthanasia album. The reason why I love that record so much is because Nick Menza on drums was just ass kicking. So,
Yeah,
the songs and everything, but to me, what really stands out was like, man, the fucking drums are awesome. This is like a real awesome drummer. So kudos to your drummer. Great job on this record. I love everything else. Me being a drummer.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't do it, but thank you very much.
So, coming up on the songwriting, do you feel any pressure with making the next record just as good, or what's the approach like after?
I feel absolutely no pressure. None of us feel any pressure with that. We're just looking forward to getting things going correctly. Like I said, we've got bits and pieces in one song that's basically finished, but we got some other bits and pieces we really want to start cranking on and making into something. I think we're probably going to enjoy the process a lot more this time around. Just because we got a couple more people, involved in it and giving ideas. I see that our boy Psycho Steve didn't join in yet, so apparently he must not have got home. But I had a fun story I wanted to tell about Steve, if I can.
Please.
Okay. So I met Steve back in 2018 at a KISS convention up in Jersey. And a friend of mine had got me a gig working with Jean Beauvoir. And
Nice.
Jean Beauvoir, of course, was the bass player for the Plasmatics, and also co-wrote a bunch of songs with Paul Stanley for KISS. So he wrote some KISS hits. So anyway, I got there on a Friday late, met him, hung out a little bit. Then got up Saturday, after hanging out with some of these rock stars, which was a big fun thing. Got up and got out there, to help him, with his meet and greet stuff. And the next thing I know, my buddy comes up, Ian, and goes, "Hey man, there's a problem with Jean's knee." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "So he needs to get a cortisone shot in his knee, and you're the only one with the car because you're the only one that drove here. We all flew in, so you have to drive him to the doctor." I'm like, "What?" So I was freaked out on that. So I just barely met the guy the day before. Helped him hobble to the car, and we get in the car. Of course, pulling up GPS back in 2018 is not quite as good as it is today. So we're driving through the back streets of Jersey, and I'm sitting. I've got a rock star sitting beside of me, and we're chit chatting about stuff. And he's just as cool as he can be. He's on his phone back and forth, And this map thing is taking us through all these residential areas and cul-de-sacs and stuff. I'm like, what is going on? And we're cracking jokes about that, having a good time on that. He's eating a big bag of Skittles out of his backpack. I'm like, aren't you even worried about your knee, man? Nah, man, it'll be good. Okay. So get him to the doctor and get him in there. And so I'm again, I've been tasked to take care of this rock star that a lot of people really came to see for that particular convention. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to screw something up. But we get in there and he's having to fill out all this paperwork and stuff. And he goes back in there. He's like, come on, man. I'm like, I don't think I need to go back there, dude. You got it. And he comes back out and he tells me, it's like, yeah, man, that doctor was so cool, man. She's the old army nurse back in the day, blah, blah, blah. And starts telling me all the stories that they were talking about. And so, after that, rode around a little bit, dropped him off to pick up a banner that he had ordered to take back. And just had some great conversation and made a pretty cool friend. I've worked with him one time since then. I'm sure we'll cross paths again here soon, but it was a fun, interesting, weird experience to be tasked with taking care of a rock star that you just met, But anyway, I thought I'd tell that story, and Steve was like freaking out over it when I met him, talking to him about it, and that's how our friendship started. So.
That's awesome, dude. Angel, that actually reminds me of you exploring the back streets of Philadelphia for Masquerade with some bands.
Yeah, it's funny because it was well, at the time they were called Autograph, but Regina was in the car as well. Regina Rand, and I don't think she knows I was her driver, but I had made a wrong turn and ended up going through Citizens Bank Park. So I'm not getting the GPS signal, which pissed me off. And I got Jay calling me, "Where the hell are you? Just half of the band is here." And I'm like, "I'll be there in a few minutes, just traffic." I forgot what I said, but I made up some lie about traffic, but I was lost and freaking terrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were the headliner for our festival, so we were like, "Angel, I've only got half the band."
Yeah, of course, the headliner only had one job to do.
I was like, "I ain't mad at you, bro, but I need some info."
Yeah, and I have a story. I have another story a lot like that happened a few years before that. I was playing with a band that was playing Jersey, and you might know these names. So the name of the band was K Octave, and the guitar player Brian Williams plays for October 31. Are you familiar with that band?
Oh yeah, I know that band.
Okay,
October 31. Oh,
yeah. So anyway, I was helping them out, and I was married at the time, so my wife was up there with me, and she didn't want to rush to get to the club, and they'd already gone on ahead of us, and so I was like, "We got all this time. We don't need to go on." Okay, so we thought we had the directions. We'd never been in Jersey before, so we finally head on, and I was kind of mad about it, and then we get lost. So we stop and ask for directions. Guess what happens? They give us directions, and they were wrong. So we stop and ask directions again. They give us directions. They were wrong. We're so lost now. I mean, so lost. So I'm calling them up, trying to, we're here. How do we get there? Stop and ask again. We asked directions 3 times, and we got the wrong directions 3 different times. So my first vision of Jersey was not good. Got to the club, and we were just opening for another band, but it was walk in, walk on stage right away. There was no time. Awful. I hated that.
So you just had to hope that everything was going to sound good because there was no checking.
Yeah. No, none whatsoever. So Angel, I feel your pain on that one. Absolutely.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it was just freaking horrifying because they're the headliner. If I don't get them to the venue, the show's gonna go on later, and Jay's probably gonna kill me. And so it's the promoter as well.
I was just gonna say, dude, I don't think you had as much to be afraid of me. I was just the host. I would have been way more scared of Brad.
Yeah, but it was just hilarious because I'm like, oh, there's the baseball stadium. That's where the Philadelphia Phillies play, and on to the right is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. Oh, and there's the Spectrum. That used to be the Spectrum. That's where the sports teams play. And I'm like, okay, I'm making this fucking left turn, and finally got to the venue, and I was so. And then I met Regina a couple of months ago, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to tell her that I was her driver. But I don't think she realized. I mean, nobody realized that I was lost.
Right.
I think. No, nobody did.
So let me ask you two guys. Let me ask you two guys a question. Are you both planning on doing Rock and Pod next year?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope I can be a part of that again in some capacity. I don't know if I will, but hopefully I can.
Yeah, dude, that'd be sick. Yeah, we haven't pulled the trigger yet on our table, but we will. We'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I definitely plan to. I'm going to get there a day early to have more fun because at the last Rock and Pod, I was a miserable fuck at the last Rockin' Pod.
Well, that's because Spirit canceled you 5 times.
Oh man.
Here's the thing with that. The guy that was on the plane with me was Ace Frehley's bodyguard and the wrestler, Anderson.
Yeah. And Andrew Anderson, I believe.
Yep, that's how we got him on the show. And I was like, man, it would be cool if he could body slam Spirit. So you had Spirit Airlines was canceling my flight. You had my ex arguing with me as soon as I landed. So
man.
So next year, Rockin' Pod, I'm just gonna have a good time.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely, man. And I hope you do. I truly hope you do.
But hey, we did.
But you didn't seem like you were miserable. You seemed like you were having a good time. So
yeah,
that was because we had a segment where the Metal Summit went country, and we were the only show that wanted to interview this guy. And I was like, how does nobody else want to talk to you? He was so fascinating because he was the dude from the real world.
Yeah.
And it was so cool.
Well, yeah, guys. I appreciate you having me on and chit chatting. I feel like I'm a nobody in the rock and roll world, but I'll look at this and feel like I'm somebody. So I appreciate you guys, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Paul. You're always somebody, bro. Absolutely, man. You always got our love and support, man. We're all of our love out to you, man. I mean, you seem to be doing really good, but still all of our love for a speedy recovery for you, man. And we really, really appreciate you taking the time to do the show when hey, can we reschedule would have been more than warranted. So like we totally appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so very, very much for supporting everything that Paul's doing with Transcendent and Audio Assault and everything, man. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, showing him a lot of love, and just allowing him to rock out. Make sure that you're following Transcendent on all of their socials and supporting by picking up Awaken and listening, talking about it, giving it likes and shares, give it reviews if you're in the press game. Definitely help get the album with as much legs as possible. Make sure that you're supporting Transcendent on all of their socials so you always know what's going on when they're hitting the road. You can get out there and support them, get some CDs, get some T-shirts, and just hang out with Paul as long as he's able to talk to you guys. Make sure that you respect his vocal warm-ups when it comes to that kind of stuff. But thank you so much, Metal Summoners. Make sure that you're following Angel on Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram as well as just Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Salem.Vampire, and you can find Psycho Steve on Instagram at The Real Psycho Steve. Please make sure that you're following the Metal Summit on Facebook as well as YouTube, because that's where you're watching Paul right now as he does his interview. But definitely show some love and a follow to the Metal Summit Instagram page, because that's where we put out the announcements first and foremost. But you guys have yourselves a great rest of your evening. We're going to enjoy ours as well. We will see you guys in a week. The guest announcement will come out over the weekend, and we will see you guys. Take care. Be good to each other. Take care of yourselves. And we'll see you guys again in a week for a brand new episode. Take care. See ya. As always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.